Okay, we are live. This is Wedge with Saint Sir Nicholas, or Nick, from the Star Wars Discord. Hopefully, we will be playing some Star Wars Battlefront 2 from 2005, and we will be talking about editing Wookiepedia. I just have to get everything set up and hope that it doesn't crash because I'm doing this for the first time, so apologies.
Huh. I've not played this game in a while, so we'll
All
see
right.
how it goes, I guess.
Yes, we will. All right, I'm going to press space. All right. So I'm going to be the Empire, apparently.
Yep, apparently.
Are you the what do you call them?
I'm a rebel. We have auto-assigned teams.
Okay, so Nick,
Yeah.
tell me about how you got involved with being a Star Wars fan first.
So I saw the movies and I saw the originals and then the prequels. I remember I saw the originals, then I was told there were more movies, and all I knew about them was that they took place 30 years earlier. They have young Obi-Wan, and that the bad guy with the dull blade lightsaber is named Darth Maul, who I learned about from seeing the cover of the Lego game. And so saw the movies, really liked them, and then the Clone Wars came out, the film, saw that in theaters. I watched the shows that came out, and then I wasn't super involved in the fandom. I watched Rebels and the Baby Yoda show season one and the sequels and Rogue
Oh, so
One,
this
but
was after the Disney buyout that you got in.
oh no, I got uh in the mid 2000s. I saw the Clone Wars film in theaters. It's just it was after it was in 2020 during the lockdowns when I sorry that I'm not talking very quickly, but I saw the Knights of the Old Republic games were on sale, and I'm like, well, there's lockdown. I want something new to do. So I bought the first one. I loved it. It was so cool. And I played the second one, and again, it was so cool. And from there, I read Heir to the well, it was the iBooks of Thrawn trilogy and Truce of Bakura, and then I started consuming as much of Legends as I could. Tales of the Jedi, Dark Empire, Jedi Academy trilogy, I Jedi, Corellian, all that stuff. And a little over a year later, I had read through to the end, the very last comics that are the end of the story. Though I haven't read literally everything, I have gone to the end. And as for the Wookiepedia, it was mid 2021. I I noticed of all things that on Canon Darth Sidious's article, it said power and abilities on the head, when it should say powers and abilities on the head. I'm like, that's wrong. So I make a wiki account and I edit it and fix it. And that's where it started. And from there, I started editing, and yeah, I've edited it a fair bit.
So, since we're in Battlefront 2, maybe you can tell us what your favorite classes are in this game and weapon.
So I always like to play as the Jedi or the Sith, if applicable.
That means you got to earn your way up, right?
Typically, yeah.
So you
And
like the lightsaber and the telekinesis, I assume.
yeah, my favorite part of Star Wars is definitely the Force and its users
Uh,
fighting with their blades, frozen, glowing fire, or shoving each other with their thoughts, reaching out to command armies with their will, hurling and blocking lightning, all that stuff.
and why do you think that is? Why do you think that's your favorite part?
Uh, because magic is awesome, magic in space is really cool, and because, I mean, it's just awesome. And because the Force users tend to be very fascinating characters. And so in the game, I'd say my favorite class of normal units is probably just the basic infantry for their generally rapid fire gun. And I just think it's a pretty fairly well balanced unit and easy to utilize because I hardly ever can get the shotgun to work for me. And
So I like to be the standard trooper because I like the rifle. Um, but I do enjoy some of the other classes, especially once you earn all the special weapons.
yeah, the special weapons are definitely nifty.
Okay, so what? Tell us about the kinds of articles you like to edit on Wikipedia.
So it varies. Uh, I guess my editing could basically be classified into one of three categories. The first is, and the perhaps least significant, is when there's just new content. Like, for instance, when The Acolyte came out, wanted to edit that because it was new. When a new book comes out that I've just read, sometimes I'll edit that when it's new. And that's the main incentive, the newness of it. Now, then there are sort of rabbit hole articles where I start editing one and then I'm like, okay, I have to edit this, or I have to update all the appearances of this now that I've discovered it, that sort of thing. For instance, the force sustenance article, that's the force power to keep going without having food. Once I found out that had a page, I then edited it and then I had to go in. Well, I didn't have to technically because Wookiepedia is a voluntary thing, but I chose to go in and add to it to the appearances. Sorry, yeah, add it to the appearances of all the media it shows up in. But by far, most significant thing for me, I'd say, is the articles that I edit because I care about the subject matter, such as the force powers that I like or the characters I find most exciting. So close to getting into your hangar. That turret killed me.
How are the auto turrets killing you?
Oh, I guess I'm not a main character.
Okay. So I apologize if you answered this question already, but anyone who's been on the Star Wars Discord, where we both met, knows that your favorite character, not your favorite character, your favorite power is Force Lightning, especially the light side, I think, but also you like dark side too, because it's still Force Lightning, right?
Exactly.
Did I get it right?
Exactly. Force Lightning is my favorite Force ability, especially the light side variation.
I hate flying these versus other starfighters. So tell us some of your other favorite Force powers.
Well, first off, thank you for confirming about where you are. So that's helpful. But other favorite Force powers, well, telekinesis is obviously cool. It's a
Any
classic.
particular form of telekinesis, like Force Wave, or just all telekinesis?
Let's see. Pushing and pulling and heaving things is cool. It's very neat seeing the like esoteric applications of telekinesis and how it can be used in such a wide variety of ways and to do some pretty interesting stuff. Though, of course, the classics like shove, choke, quite neat to see in stories they appear in. I like bowel meditation. That's pretty cool. The idea
Ah,
of
yes,
someone just
Basila's favorite power.
yep.
I have to admit, I don't like battle meditation except in New Jedi Order and the Thrawn trilogy, and in what's it called? The Knights of the Republic games. I really dislike it in Tales of the Jedi because the way Veach used it, he acted like it's the only power you need to know, and it's an auto win button, and I think that's not very interesting.
Well, I mean, there was a time when the king of Onderon counterspelled Nomi, and there are times where she had to use on pretty small scales. But I mean, if you're talking, but also like you look at what Sabaoth did, that was just insane in my opinion.
That was what?
Like the power of bowel meditation Sabaoth had. When I first read the Thrawn trilogy, I was like, wow, it's pretty cool. But looking back and comparing it to what other people could do, it was yeah, he had some insane stuff going on there.
Literally insane, since that's Sabath's whole thing is
I
being
mean,
crazy.
not wrong.
It does make you wonder what a non-insane Sabaoth or similar powered Jedi would do with that kind of power.
Yeah.
Do you think
Also,
that would be defeatable?
well, I mean, we do see a few people who had Baramel states who had that ability, and I think the results kind of speak for themselves. But of course, it's important to remember the whole he's just a man,
The
and
whole what?
a, he's just a man. So, like physically. So, if someone could say get a force stealthed assassin he didn't notice to get him and like just shank him or shoot him, yeah. Then
But
again,
then
you
he would
could.
just do some rocks in front of him.
I mean, well, depends on his reaction times. And also, I think he does seem to have been almost uniquely talented because you look at, say, what Yoda did with bowel meditation. He was only at most using it to fight on a planetary scale and during Revenge of the Sith, when he was putting his mind into the Wookiees and the clones to defend Kashyyyk. So I think part of it seems to have been that he seems to have had an extraordinary natural talent.
So sort of like what do you call it? Mara and the Emperor's talent to speak telepathically from any distance in the galaxy is kind of like, or Corrin and the Halcyon line's lack of telekinesis combined with their ability to absorb energy.
Yeah, it certainly seems like it because it just the discrepancy between what he does. Because I'm trying to think of it, besides his bowel meditation and a couple of his telepathic things, I can't really remember him doing anything beyond like what Obi-Wan does.
No, Zahn was always very careful to try and make sure he didn't go beyond the what you saw in the movies, because those were the rules. And Zahn, of course, is a very rule following writer.
I mean, I don't know about that because I think that if you just had the context of the movies and the books, like in the 90s, it would seem like Sabath was the strongest character except maybe Yoda, because Yoda doesn't fight in the original movies. Because think about, like, what do we see the Emperor do in the first movies?
The Emperor,
Yeah,
in terms of force powers, maybe force persuade and uh, what is that power he uses? Lightning. That's pretty much it, I
yeah.
think.
He mentions he's seen the future. Look how well that turned out for him. He unlocks Luke's handcuffs with a finger wave. He has some degree of force sense, and the books then explain that he was using bowel meditation. But then when you just see how many times Sabaoth shoots lightning and the structures he collapses and how he directly enslaves people with his mind so that they're just puppets for him for a
Well, the
while.
puppet thing, I feel like, is just an extension of the Jedi mind trick, wouldn't you say?
I mean, yeah, dominate mind is kind of the mind trick taken to the ultimate extreme. But I mean, in the movies, we never see anyone able to. In any of the movies, I don't think we ever see anyone enslaving tens of thousands of people at once. Not just influencing them with bowel meditation, but making them direct puppets. Which I'm not saying that's a problem because force abilities are great, and we do see throughout Star Wars very powerful expressions of what lightsayers and darksayers can do. I just think that when it was written, he was extraordinarily powerful. And even today, he is pretty strong, in my opinion.
So, what is it about Force Lightning that makes it the best power?
So it looks really visually striking. I think that the impact it had, both in universe and out of universe, when it first showed up, was great. It's a very effective. Oh, wait, we have some random in here. Just some random guy. And my game crashed or froze. I'll try to rejoin. But anyway, it's really cool, and the the way that's explained, the psychology usually used is quite interesting. How it seems to generally be, in many ways, a very pure expression of the dark side or the light side, not just because it's raw elemental energy, but because usually we see it being used by fairly well trained and dedicated Darksiders who tend to be quite angry when they're using it. And it's, or on the rare occasions where we see the light side variant, it's generally used in a case of either specifically to destroy something, well, try to destroy something. If it works or not varies. That is specifically likely to be vulnerable to the power of the light side, or it seems to be utilized from a position of dealing out justice. And also, I think it's cool the contrast in that we see Sith lightning utilized for a whole gamut of things. We see it used to kill, we see it used to stagger, to torture, to move people, to torture people to make them bear Sith, which I think is all very in keeping with the dark side ethos. Whereas we see light side lightning essentially just used for two things. One, to knock people out non lethally when a Jedi doesn't want to have to kill someone or just reacts instinctively because that's what's necessary to save a life, or two, to kill people. Just like die, because sometimes Jedi do need to kill people, and there's no reveling in it. It's just this dark side or otherwise evil entity needs to be destroyed with a blast of green or white fire.
Yeah. Um, and you can use it to cauterize wounds in too, right?
I I honestly can't recall either version ever being used to do that. I'm back in the game, by the way, but I would assume so because it can be used to cause burns. So I'd assume someone with sufficient control could do that. I know in the Force Unleashed 2 game, I'm not sure if this is canonical because of novel supremacy, but definitely in the Dawn of the Jedi comics, there are people who use lightning as a power source to charge up machinery. And of course, in real life, electricity has some medical applications. I would guess that someone could do something similar with that if they had the degree of control necessary. And of
Okay.
course,
So now,
and the
tell me a
last,
bit.
uh,
Sorry. Go ahead.
if I could finish, the last thing is the is using it for property damage, which could be used perhaps somewhat natively, or like the Baron Doe use it in their rituals to ignite funeral pyres, for instance. And they can use it to fight with too. Yeah, they're another order that has some ow, that hurts. Having my heart burned open by Princess Leia. But yeah, the Baron Doe, for instance, have a white light side variant of lightning and use it to. Ooh, thank you, all plays Darth Vader. They use it for their utility and their ritual uses as well as combat. So anyway, what were you saying?
I was saying, now that I've talked a bit about your favorite force powers, let's talk about your favorite force users. Who are some favorite characters of yours and why?
So there are a lot of characters I like. Okay, what was this pen do? Okay, so I think that this is mostly in the Legends context, so there are a couple of characters in both. So I like Luke and Leia since they're such main characters and they were cool in the movies and become even cooler with the books. No, command post, retake.
But talk to me about the best princess in Star Wars, because we both love her.
Oh yeah, Marsiah. Marsiah fell. One of my absolute favorite characters because great aesthetic, cool range of abilities, uh, very compelling character, especially because of how she's like the perfect combination or fulfillment of her ancestry, which is even more awesome when you because in real life they didn't actually know what her bloodline would be fully when the character was first written.
What did they decide eventually about her bloodline? Obviously from Jag, but
Yeah. Well, okay, spoilers for basically the entire expand universe or legends. Well, in Fate of the Jedi Book 9, Jag marries Jan Solo, and since he's never described as having another wife or having children with anyone else, I mean, presumably it would be that Fells are Solos and therefore Skywalkers.
mm-hmm. Yep, yep.
And
Uh,
yeah, especially Marasiah, her first when Cade and she have their first like serious conversation, it's so cool. Like Marasiah, she comes across as a Skywalker who was raised by Imperials, and I mean that is genetically what she is, and culturally, so that's pretty cool.
I mean, I would say that a Skywalker raised by Imperials is exactly what Marasiah is.
Yeah, and the great part partly is that they didn't even know that when the character was when the comic came out, so that's really impressive. How it feels so natural.
What? No, stop it. What? Oh, there it is. Okay. Um, Now let's go back. Not sorry, not back. Um, have you edited any of the pages for your favorite force powers or characters on Wikipedia? And what are some
Absolutely.
significant additions that you've had on those?
So, a few significant ones for Luke. His Dark Empire page. Well, sorry, his force powers from Dark Empire. I added to his page. Before it was horribly bare, but I think I got everything. Though, of course, if anyone reads those comics and sees I missed something, absolutely encourage you to add it. That's a great thing about the book. Anyone can add it as long as you back it up with the source and have the appropriate reference. Maybe we'll talk about that later. Uh, Darth Crate, the he's maybe I think he's my favorite villain in all of Star Wars, and I massively expanded the list of his force powers. Sabaoth, I did a lot of work on him, though unfortunately the library that I got the audiobook from I no longer have access to, so I can't finish it for the last book he's in. Obi-Wan, in Legends, I've been adding a lot for him. Funnily enough, for canon, Avar Kriss, I've written most of her force powers and abilities listed on the book. And the sad thing is, I've only read one thing with her. I guess technically two if you count her holocron in that one comic, but that doesn't really show any of her force abilities. So, I mean, if someone wants to help with adding to those, that would be much appreciated. Just saying.
So you mentioned when we were planning this that there were some times that let's see, times that news sites or Star Wars news sites have used your edit. So tell us about some of those.
All right. So the term news needs to be, shall we say, taken in context because by news it's like pop culture, gaming news, those sorts of sites, and to call them news sites is maybe giving them too much credit. They're pretty sensationalist. But what? But maybe someone here likes them or finds good info on them. And to be fair, when they use the info I added, I backed up with sources. Okay, but seriously, uh, as I mentioned, Obi-Wan in Legends is a character that I've written a lot of the updates to, like what his force abilities are, some of the less well-known ones. I've seen a couple of articles that have referenced that. I've okay. I mean, yeah, I guess you can try to kill me.
I mean, that's what we're doing, isn't it?
Yeah. Uh, uh, yeah. So, but yeah, a few times I've seen essentially a news site say, according to Wookiepedia, Obi Wan knew this force power and used it here. According to Wikipedia, he had this force ability and used it here. And several times I've seen people on the internet reference uses of Jedi lightning that are not well known. And something I want to stress is that okay, so you're on the ship. That's the only reason there'd be a tie on the hangar. Or you stole another ship.
I stole the best ship. You know how you like force powers? I like A wings.
Yeah, and you cracked our shield generator, I think. Or is that the life support?
Oh, all
Okay.
right.
Shout out to Olen or Salvin
The best
AI.
AI pilot there is.
Yeah, very based AI. Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, he's shooting down evil, so of course he's based. Um, so,
But yeah, a few times I've seen stuff or that I've written about Force Lightning and times I have used light side versions show up on sites. But I want to stress that everything, like I say, I write, I, like everyone is supposed to do, am just reciting the sources. You're not supposed to just conjure stuff on Wikipedia. We're all just repeating what the actual books and shows and games tell us.
Oh, this A-wing would make Skywalker foe proud. Sorry, not A-wing. It's Y-wing. Giving me a headache. Okay, so how did you learn all the coding and formatting for Wikipedia? Did you just watch some YouTube videos, or what was the source for that?
So, part of it I just kind of learned on my own by doing, but a lot of it, I mean, it's not that complicated. Honestly, if you take a little bit of time to look at. Another thing is the Wikipedia Discord is a very friendly place for if you need help with editing, and you can usually just ask how to do a certain formatting thing and someone can explain it. Also, there are tutorials on the site which explain the coding and how to do it right.
Have you ever edited TV tropes?
I have not.
Because that's actually where I learned how to do most basic Wikipedia formatting. Nice shot, Jensen. Um, yeah, I honestly would say find a smaller Wook that has. The reason I say smaller is because the big wikis now fandom or whatever, they keep migrating, getting bought, and doing dumb stuff. But the reason I say find a smaller one is because then you'll have less people getting into edit wars with you, um, being rude. There's just a lot more flexibility to learn how to actually edit if you join a smaller wiki site. Um,
Mm, I don't know about that. I won't say what wikis I've had bad experiences with, but let's just say I've been on some ones that are smaller than the Wook, and
well,
they
that's true. The Green Lantern wiki is run by a tin pot dictator who thinks that everything should be an in-universe encyclopedia entry. Um, so yeah, I guess you got to be careful. How have you found ways to form relationships and such on Wikipedia, like friendships and
yeah,
um, collaborations on edits and stuff?
good question. I don't generally go for the specific collaborations on edits, which is it's just not how I do it. I know there's some people who get good work done. It's just not my thing, but if it works for someone, great. You understand?
Yeah.
But
So would you say you're more of a solo editor guy?
you might say that though the Discord is a good place. There are some forums slash community sort of things on the Look you can post to, and you can like post memes and polls and stuff. And sometimes you'll notice other people who share similar interests in editing. Because I think a lot of people have their articles that they love to edit. Like for me, it's Force Lightning, Electric Judgment, Lightside Lightning, uh, and stuff like Yoda, Canon Yoda, Legends Obi Wan, Legends Luke and Leia, Crate, Marsiah, Jaina. But yeah, the Discord I think is a big source for if you want to talk to people. And it's also a great place to ask for help, such as you can ask people, hey, does anyone remember, is this a real quote from this book? Or can you remember if this is a thing, or hey, I don't have Disney Plus. Can someone check this for me and make sure that this wasn't in the show? That sort of stuff. It's fairly wholesome. Sorry, I should say very wholesome. Very
Okay, I need
friendly.
to see if I can fix my settings because I want to try and get better sound. Apologies.
So what you're saying is that I have a few seconds at the start. Oh, I was gonna say a few seconds where I can be unopposed.
Well, actually, I think I stopped it. Are you still in?
Yeah, you turned it off.
Okay.
My dastardly plan is ruined.
Okay. Let me just fix the audio. I'm just going to make everything very quiet because I think that'll help. Because there's a lot of times I couldn't hear your answers as well because my audio was way too loud.
All right. No problem.
Okay. There we go. All right. Let me create another thing. Are there any maps you want to play particularly?
Um, let's go with Jai Temple, both arrows. That's a good map.
Do you mean on Yavin 4?
No, I mean on Coruscant.
Oh, right. Okay. Clone Wars or Galactic Civil War?
Both arrows, honestly, would be cool.
Say what?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other map you want to play? I think we could probably get 3 more in. I mean,
I don't
3.
know.
So we got 2 right now. So 1 more.
I don't know, maybe something in space.
Okay. Fallujah.
Sure.
All right. Here we go. Actually, I'm gonna put Fallujah in the middle so there's
Wait,
more
stop.
variety.
Uh,
What?
if you guys did the things, we could make it PvE and we hit the bots together.
Wait, what do I do?
Go on to settings, global. No, down there on the yeah. I just realized I was trying to show you on my cursor. Maybe host. I mean,
Yes.
teams player select.
Oh, there we go.
And back to global, please.
Global.
I mean, come on. 16 AI units per team.
Okay, 32.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
Okay.
Stabilization, I think. And then
Okay, here we go.
launch.
Hopefully that'll be more fun. I mean, I had fun. I was having fun,
Yeah,
but my team won every time. I think. Did my team win every time?
I don't know. I think I won like once.
All right. What team do you want to be? Cis or Republic?
Uh, let's do separatists.
Okay. All right.
Random aside, I think the light side hero for this is Windu, and it's pretty cool how he has this when he jumps, double jumps, how he lands and does a shockwave. I think that's unique to him.
That is a very cool power. I agree.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Oh shoot! I picked the wrong base. I am not used to playing Cis. I almost always play this level Republic. Um. So tell us a little bit about some of the negatives that can happen in being a Wook editor. You've had some controversies, and actually, the Wook has unfortunately hit a lot of controversies that have hit quote unquote news sites in the last few years, partly because of the dumb culture wars that have infected Star Wars a lot. But like
Yeah.
some of them are just personnel issues, you know. So tell us a little bit about those. No specifics needed, but like
Yeah. Well, the most infamous one, perhaps, that was real controversy, that wasn't just manufacturer trash, was how I say it. It was something in 2021, I think. Pretty infamous, but that was before my time. Maybe 2020, I don't remember exactly. and I've heard that that guy was not the best. Some of the records of what he did, really not a fan of that. But again, before my time, I don't feel I can comment more on that. Now there have been, I guess you might say, three that I've seen. One where this guy this guy had some logs of some stuff that he was hosting privately, but then that got reported to fandom, as in the real life site that hosts the book, and they banned him over that.
The
It came out
terrible website?
it came out a few months later though that the people who had reported him were actually, one of them was an admin, and they were not the best. The admin was treating people in ways that were not right, and these two people and a few others were on a server where they were a private Discord server where they were making some plans and fantasizing about some stuff that was really not good. And so once that got exposed, the admin, we voted to remove her. And unfortunately, both of these people, the first one, she got banned. I think she might have gotten banned second. The other one, I think she got banned first. But the thing is, they actually started doxing people and doing some other real life drama stuff, and that's just not okay. You can't dox people. That's wrong.
Agreed.
Now,
Respect people's privacies for sure.
now, unfortunately, because of the doxing, a lot of stuff from that era had to be redacted, so we don't have like people's addresses out on the internet because we want to keep our people safe and respect their privacy. So, unfortunately, that's one of the less well archived parts of Wikipedia's history. It is what it is, I guess. And another controversy was this guy. This one you can look up if you look into the logs, because essentially, as much as possible, we try to keep everything publicly logged and recorded. If you look into like the consensus tracks and the
I assume we're cis again, right?
oh, okay,
Well, I don't know. We can be Republic.
sure, we'll be droids.
Okay, be droids.
And yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, this guy, this kind of got attention. Some attention. This guy who he'd been a very powerful and respected admin for years, I think, and unfortunately, he was. How do I put this? Well, I mean, if someone cares to look into the logs, they can see the receipts for all of the stuff he did. But
Was this the guy who used like the Twitter, the social media manager?
oh yeah, yeah.
I remember this
He
guy.
he. Let's see. He posted some stuff that he really shouldn't have, and was like trying to use some real life people's, shall we say, stories, like what happened in their lives in some not right ways. He was involved in doing something that really hurt the site's reputation, where he was faking changing stuff to make certain political or social statements because he thought it was funny, I guess, and that was really not necessary in my opinion, and not helpful. And ultimately, funnily enough, when we voted to remove him, the site overloaded, so some of the votes weren't actually logged. Well, nah, that wasn't good wording. I apologize. They didn't fully show up on the site until after he'd resigned. And that could have been the end of it, and he could have just stayed on as a normal person, but obviously the community no longer trusted him with the sort of power he'd had. But unfortunately, he kept on pushing, and he kept on lying about some contacts he supposedly had, and unfortunately, he had to be banned as well.
That's a bummer. And
Yeah,
he that actually hit a lot of social media
yeah,
websites. So
yeah,
that's how I heard of that one.
yeah. If anyone's curious, I believe that's still all publicly logged. So,
I think so. I've read the votes and stuff, and of course, all the tweets are still out there.
yeah. Now, the last thing, mm, spoilers for a guy who shows up in the Acolyte 4 scene was Serene Gate. I think that's how
Talking
you
about
pronounce
big
his first
head
name.
guy.
Yep. Or Mundigate, which is essentially in the Acolyte, it shows that Kiai was alive 100 years before the Phantom Menace, which is actually not problematic at all because
The
in
Syrians are really old.
yeah, yeah, in canon, there's literally never been anything that says that this type of alien couldn't have been there, and there's nothing in his backstory in canon that would suggest he couldn't be there. So there's unfortunately some people got into their heads that this was somehow a conspiracy by Disney to confuse people or change it, which is kind of weird because if they wanted to retcon it, they just could, and also because not only would they have access to all the Star Wars information ever, they chose a character in a species where there wasn't actually any contradiction in him being there. Now, the confusion arose. I think a lot of people online, okay, I want to believe a lot of people online, I should say, were just confused because in Legends, Mundi is much younger than that. And
Sure.
what I'd like to think is that a lot of people just didn't know the difference, or the grifters showed them the legend stuff without explaining it to them and tricked them. But I don't know. But anyway, people were having this huge fuss about it when really it's just they're two separate timelines and things are different. It's
Yeah, I never really understood why everyone got so upset about that specific thing. Like, I understand not liking the show. I personally didn't watch it because it didn't sound like the kind of show I would like. Um, but like, that's just the new canon. Like, I don't
yeah,
understand why people got so mad.
and also it's not even a change to it. It's not even a change to what had been established. It's yeah, there'd been nothing explaining how long that species lived, as far as I can tell. And hey, if anyone has a source in the new timeline for how long these guys live, please bring it to our attention. Like, if you know, if this is a thing that got changed, we'd love to note that it was altered and that was retconned. But to date, no one has been able to provide a source in the Disney continuity that says that he was born like 20 or 50 years before the Phantom Menace or whatever. So, yeah, those are the controversies that I know of. The one before my time, a couple where some admins were not being the best, and this manufactured nonsense by people pushing an agenda who didn't know or didn't care about the difference between the storylines, I guess.
Yeah. Um, So, ending on a more positive note, well, not ending, we've got one more mission, but
Yeah,
are
positive.
there, uh,
Nice.
what are you currently reading or playing, like game wise, for Star Wars, old and new, Legends and Disney?
So I don't know if you know this, but I'm playing Battlefront 2 with you.
You shock me. What are you talking about?
Okay. Uh, okay, there is a guy and a bot named Alpha 332, and let's just say if you're on the server, you'll know why that gave me pause for a second.
Oh, I see.
Anyway, uh, but yeah. So for playing wise, I actually mostly play Total War Warhammer 3, which is obviously a Warhammer Fantasy game, not a Star Wars game. That's actually the main focus of my YouTube channel. Maybe go check it out.
What's
Hash,
your channel name? Is it just Saint Sir Nicholas as well?
yep, Saints or Nicholas. Yeah, maybe you should go check it out and subscribe to it. But yeah, as for Star Wars, I have a few ideas of what I could look into next. I'm thinking of maybe trying to go over the Tales of the Jedi comics very thoroughly and critically to try to make sure that I can get all of Nomi Sunrider's abilities
Yeah,
noted. Yeah, she's such a great character. I think. I
for
think they
sure.
could.
I really like the way her character goes from, kind of a normal person, and then she gets sucked into something bigger, and she just, I mean, she does her part and becomes more and more important.
Yeah, and I think her character arc was really well done with how uh, she starts out having a lot of weaknesses, flaws psychologically. Because her issue isn't raw power, it's that she's, as she tells her husband, too timid. And it's really interesting seeing her move through the, wow, 7 kills, 7 deaths. I guess balance is maintained for me. But seeing her character grow and develop from someone who thought that, let's play Rebels,
Okay.
from someone who thought that she could never become a Jedi, and then the struggles she has after kind of trying to do that with the grief and self doubt she feels after the way she killed those guys who murdered her family member, and then finally growing and developing into this great champion and avatar of the light, and how she okay, what, okay, never mind, and how she eventually develops to leading entire armies with the force of her mind, and her bowel meditation is utilized in some very creative applications as well, and seeing her confront various dark side and characters, I should say, are not exactly entities. Yeah, I thought her character arc was really cool.
And do you prefer to read comics on on the Marvel app or anything, or do you like to what's it called? Uh, get hard copies? Yeah, that's what I meant.
Uh, I tend to be more into getting stuff through the online
Okay.
means.
And would you say you prefer comics or like books, like textbooks?
I think I prefer novels overall because they generally have more more character development, more dialogue, more subtle uses of the force, more obvious uses of the force, more typically they name the stuff more often, like the ships, for instance, because it's one thing to set to show a picture of a star destroyer and then people can just look at it. But if it's in a book, it might have to say what type of star destroyer it is. Then again, it varies, of course. And some comics go into more detail, and some books are kind of generic with what they have. But it all varies. Also, the great thing about books is they can be audiobooks, and audiobooks are pure awesome, except abridged, which are an abomination.
I actually liked. I grew up on the audiobooks in the '90s on cassette tape which is why they had to be abridged because you just don't have enough space in a cassette unless you have like a whole huge case full of cassettes to listen to the whole thing.
Worth it.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not worth it, but most people aren't willing to do it. But I liked the actor Anthony Heald. I thought he was really good. Um, do you prefer like Jonathan Davis or January Lavoie or Mark Thompson? Like, do you have a preference on which narrator you like best?
I mean, I don't know. I think the narration for the Thrawn trilogy 20th anniversary
Let's
edition,
try
of course.
Republic this time.
All right, I think that is probably the single like closest to the movies voices, and that's definitely means that there should be some respect shown to that narrator. Though that's not to say the other narrators are bad. For instance, the unabridged courtship of Princess narrator does a good job, and
Is that one of
sometimes
the ladies or the gentleman narrators?
I believe it is a woman who narrates that.
Yeah, I think that's Generally Void, but I'm not actually 100% sure.
Yeah.
Did you
Well, it's
listen to that new audiobook, Padawan's Pride, about Anakin doing a?
I have not listened to that one, sadly.
It was really fun. I definitely recommend it.
All right. Well, if anyone wants to know who the narrator is for the unabridged courtship book, I guess you can just look it up on Wookiepedia.
Maybe someone will have commented. I see there's comments, but since I'm in game, I can't really check on them.
Yeah.
Um. Oh shoot! It's a destroyer.
Oh, I almost. Do you want to know what I almost said?
What?
I almost said reinforce me. I've been playing Helldivers 2 a lot, so that's what I'm used to.
Let's see. Here, can I be? All right. Oh yes, I let you have the Jedi. Said I could take it, but I knew you'd want to do it, even though I played as Luke last time. Um. So
Well,
yeah,
I guess there's a balance in all things.
what is a something that you read or played recently other than Battlefront 2 that you would recommend, similar to what's it called? Uh, Padawan's Pride or The Living Force, which I also recommend. Very good book.
Well, I haven't listened to either of those, so I
I
can't
know.
very well recommend something about them.
No, I'm recommending those.
Oh, okay.
I'm
I guess
I'm saying you should recommend something.
okay. Um. Well, looking at it from a Legends context, I'd say if someone wants to get into Legends, to be the two main entry points, it depends what you want. If you want, well, 2.5, because if you're trying to just learn about a different storyline of stuff that happened during the movies, then
Whoa, careful.
it's a lot less important. Though there definitely are story arcs because, like uh say the Empire comics, Vader's not gonna die. He has to live to be in the original trilogy or whatever. But I think if someone wants to get into the stuff that took place before the movies, a good place to start is either Knights of the Old Republic or the Tales of the Jedi comics. Tales of the Jedi comics specifically should be read in chronological order. I really believe. I think release order is pretty bad for them.
Yeah, I would say that's true because unlike a lot of other comics or novels, the Tales of the Jedi takes place over such a huge span of time, and it's deliberately constructed so that you see the development of the Republic and the Jedi and the Sith empires and
Yeah,
their conflicts. And of course, that means you end with the beautiful Tales of the Jedi Redemption, which I think is just a phenomenal book.
yeah, that's a really, really good epilogue to the Tales of the Jedi comics.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Knights of the Old Republic, after you've played that, because Darth
Now,
Bane. Oh, go on,
why
go on.
would you say Knights of the Republic read the comics after you play it? I mean, they're technically prequels.
I maybe I was unclear. It's either way. I think it doesn't really matter too much. the The only thing that's really given away, besides that there are still giant Sith, which you already know because they have to exist in the movies, so neither side can be fully defeated, is what happens to one of the kind of a tiny bit of what happens to one of the villains. Yeah, because they talk about Exar. But I think either way works because I got into the EU seriously from playing Knights of the Old Republic. And if someone wants like a game experience to be their entryway, I'd say play Knights of the Old Republic. And of course, Knights of the Old Republic 2 is a very good game that builds on that and explores some really interesting themes. It has some.
And in my opinion, the Star Wars The Old Republic massively multiplayer online role playing game builds upon both of them. Um, I love all three. A lot of people just love the first two, but I think The Old Republic is also a really good game.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so,
Okay.
but
Um,
here's what everyone's really here for: how to get into the storyline after Return of the Jedi. I'd say if you really want to have. Okay, what's my computer doing? Uh, just a minute, please. Okay, computer work, please. Can you still hear me?
yes, I can.
Oh, that's something good. Okay. Test
Well,
one.
we just hit an hour and 10 minutes, which is why I was wrapping up. But if you wanted to do another one more round while you talk about that, we can.
Sure, sure.
Okay. Let me
Because
pick one more map and we can. Ooh, let's do
yeah,
Hoth. That's a fun map.
yeah, Hoth is fun. But yeah,
Uh,
if someone's again after Return of the Jedi, I'd say if you want to, if you're like hard set on, I will consume this in storyline order, then it's True Sepulchre, of course, because that takes place just after Return of the Jedi. And then I believe there are a few other things. Then there are a lot of X-wing books, and then you have to. I can't remember which one to stop at. You'd probably know the one that spoils the Thrawn trilogy.
You stop at Solo Command, and then you read Courtship and Tatooine Ghost and Heir to the Empire. And then after you finish that, Empire's a Rebel. Empire or Rebels, sorry. Hmm?
Yeah. Then.
No, you got to pick a which team do you want to be on?
Oh, sorry. Uh, let's go with Rebels, and we can be in the aircraft.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so I'd say, yeah, you're right. And then you read Thrawn trilogy, and then the next book, and then it's Dark Empire, Jedi Academy trilogy, the next book, which I can't, next, uh, Starfires of Amder, and
Technically,
Jedi.
you should read the Callista trilogy, the first book, Children of the Jedi. No, the first two, Children of the Jedi, Dark Saber, and then read Starfares of Mandalore, and then read Planet of Twilight. That's the chronological order there.
Okay, yeah. Now, if someone is more, but now, but realistically, I think what most people would want to do, and this is totally fine, and I think kind of how it was devised to be. Are you in a plane, by the way? Where
Wow.
are you?
Okay. I am trying to take the side base.
Okay, and my game just froze. Great.
Oh
But yeah,
no!
the way to get in, if you're not dead set on chronological order, is the Legends Throne trilogy. Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, The Last Command.
Yeah. And I always tell people if you're interested in something like a pilot or a Mandalorian or a Jedi, there's a book or game or something for you. There's always stuff to read.
Oh yeah, like other than there are only 1 to 3 franchises with more content, I think. I think I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sure someone will let me know in the comments. That more content than Star Wars Legends. Two of which are arguable, Marvel and DC, because it depends on if you count all the stuff together because of multiverse stuff, which I don't really understand or not. And of course, Warhammer 40,000, I'm pretty sure has the record for the most books in a single franchise. They've got a decent number of games and other stuff, not least of which the tabletop game, if you want some grimdark science fantasy. But yeah, Star Wars Legends is so expansive. And that's
And
why
so great.
I think a lot of people love it because of that, because and you get this in canon too, but not to the same extent as Legends. Yeah, you can find almost anything, almost any concept. You can find Sith focused stories that show it from their perspective. You can find Sith lords, much like in the movies, or even more extensions of like Dooku and Palpatine and Vader stories. Or you can see Sith who are much more into the sorcery, and they have culture and armies in a historical sense. In the Tales of the Jedi, you can see all the different iterations of the Jedi throughout the ages. There's the Republic and the changes it undergoes, and of course, or if someone likes the space navy aspect.
Now, let's say someone's name is Nick, and he really wants to read about Force lightning. So, shouldn't he start with Dark Nest?
uh, well, I'd say, I mean, the Darkness books are really good, but that's not that's not a starting point. I'd say,
Totally starting point. What are you talking about?
yeah, it's the end of an era that takes place decades after the films. It is not a starting point.
I mean, I started with the Corellian trilogy, which is also the end of an era 2 decades after the movie. So I say start where you want.
Yeah, well, let's just say that you won't really find me agreeing with that after a certain point. But as for if someone wants to have a lot of lightning content, obviously Clone Wars has it, and in canon Battlefront 2, you can use Dooku or Sidious and get a lot of pretty lightning because that's a gorgeous game visually. But if you want it in Legends, you can. There's the Darth Bane books, which are part of the Essential Legends collection, marketed very much nowadays towards new readers, if you're so inclined. And
Do those have a
turns
lot of
out,
lightning?
yeah, a guy called Darth Bane is a Sith, and there is a not insignificant amount of zapping. First book, there are several people who use it. Bane has it. I really wish I could rejoin, by the way. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we just ended. I tried to kill you and see if that would reboot you, but apparently it didn't.
Oh, well.
Oh well. But I think
But
you've given some good starting points.
thank you.
What do you want to leave our viewers with?
Oh, if you want to get into the EU and enjoy some lightning, Knights of the Old Republic, Darth
Oh yeah,
Vader,
Force Storm, really great. Don't I think it's just as cool as in Rise of Skywalker, probably cooler.
Knights of the Old Republic game, Darth Bane, or the Thrawn trilogy do have some good Force lightning moments. But yeah, I'd like to conclude by, well, thanking you for the interview, for declaring that people should definitely check out my YouTube channel and yours, though if they're watching this, it's not live, they kind of have to already, I'm pretty sure.
All
And
right,
do
I'm
hope.
gonna see if I can add your yeah, I'm gonna add your there we go. I've added your channel title to the video description so people who are watching later can check that out.
Yeah, and so, well, ultimately, yeah, the Legends canon, it's waiting for you for anyone who wants to see it and experience this incredibly vast story. And yeah, pretty much any sort of thing you could want from Star Wars, there's probably a story that covers that to some extent. And with Wookiepedia, it has, sure, there are problems, there are gaps, but it's still a great source for getting an overview of stuff. And we're always welcoming, we always want new people to join. And if you want to help record Star Wars lore and history, love to have you. See you around the Discord or maybe even the editing pages.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me, Nick. Hopefully we'll talk. I mean, we'll definitely talk again on the server, and maybe we'll have another collaboration in the future.
Sure. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.